Good afternoon, everybody. This is Robin Ayoub from the Localization Fireside chat, and welcome to another recording. With this recording today, I think this is recording number 6, and in the episode count, that would be episode 221, I believe.
Congrats.
So, we started 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago now, and I keep telling the story about this podcast, and, we were just chatting a little earlier, Jack, just for you to know. I started as a coffee chat with people. And I thought, I'll have coffee chat. Post-pandemic, people are not seeing each other. So
Sure.
just have coffee chat with people and record them. And then I thought, why not? Just let me post them. So I started posting them. And the only person I hoped will watch my video was my mother. So I went to my mother's house, to my parents' house. They have a smart TV. I put the YouTube, app on their TV, and thinking that my mother lives in Nova Scotia, 2-hour flight from me, so it's not close to my house. And I'm thinking like, okay, when I post something new, at least it will flag it to my mother to see her son. Well, fast forward 3 years now, 220 episodes and 2.5 million views every 7 days. And we just passed trending at 600,000 downloads for the past 3 years. So doing okay.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you so much. And I love talking to new people every day, such as yourself, Jack. Can't wait to get to know you. And for the audience, this conversation is going to be very interesting today. We're going to be talking about various aspects, but let me give you a bit of a background on this one. So most sales leaders I talk to have done AI demo. Many of them have approved AI budget. Very few have changed the way actually measure how AI impact, or what are the impact of AI, or how do we measure things from a KPI perspective. If you measure whatever you're measuring, if you're measuring sales performance, if you're measuring whatever you're measuring inside of your organization. Obviously, AI added to our productivity collectively as a humanity. Take it from me, for example. I call myself an army of one. Before I got heavy into AI, it used to take me, for instance, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to produce one episode. Now I wrote my own AI programs that I develop later on based on my technology background. And now each episode takes me about an hour and a half to put it together. From a post-editing, branding, uploading, all the socials around it. It really impacted how we do things. So my guest today, and Jack Siney, did I pronounce it correctly, or do you pronounce it differently?
It's fine. No, it's great. It's great.
Jack Siney is the CRO and from FrontRace. And Jack and I today, we're going to get to know a little bit each other. We're going to get to know what FrontRace is about. And he's also the co-founder of, you probably have a founder and division of responsibility. You handle the revenue, somebody else handles something else. Is that how you have it divided?
Yeah, I have the business side and my co-founder has kind of the tech side. So.
Absolutely. As we get started here on this conversation, if you don't mind, Jack, everybody gets this question at the beginning of our conversation. Just to give us a little bit of background on who you are, Jack, and the company, et cetera. What brought you here? What's your story? If you don't mind.
Sure. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Without boring people to tears about my background, quickly, I started my career as a civilian with the U.S. Navy, and I was on the Blue Angel program. So if you're familiar with the Blue Angels, came right out of school. I worked on the F-18 fighter jet program for the U.S. Navy for 4 years. I went and got my MBA at UCLA, and then came back and worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers as a consultant in the .com era in their practice out in California. After working for those two huge, large organizations, the thing that it taught me most is I never want to work for a large organization again and all the bureaucracy that comes with it. And so since then, for the last 25 years, I've been an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. Had a startup in the public safety space, working with law enforcement and public safety agencies around the United States. And then once we sold that entity to a big corporate company in California, and then dovetailed into GovSpend, which was a company that helps companies sell to the government. So we aggregate government purchase order data, share that with companies so they can do business with the government more efficiently, which then dovetailed into what is now FrontRace, application we used at GovSpend to help folks analyze what actually drives success and putting AI into that. So that's my career path. I've had a couple notable, fortunate, blessed exits, and really, like everyone else, I say today, every company's playing the AI space. Even companies like a furniture company or somebody you think would have no AI. When you go to their website, everybody talks about AI. So, of course, we're in that space. So fun. Well, it makes me laugh.
definitely there's a hype out there and there's a fiction quite a bit around
I
AI
agree. I totally agree.
and
I
how it's
totally
being
agree.
used and where it's being used. And, we can talk about the philosophy of how people tend to be lazy when you give them a tool that seems to reduce the amount of effort that they're supposed to exercise on certain things. They're just normally humanity, right? We all take the easy
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You mean I could press a couple of buttons or give a couple of prompts and it produces what it's supposed to produce? And if the answer is somewhat yes, I'm taking that. I don't want a definite yes. I'm not waiting for a definite yes.
Yeah, so funny. Yeah, I say all the time, is AI is amazing, right? We're an AI company, and is AI doing amazing things, particularly on the tech side? Amazing. I just think on the business commercial side, it is a long way to go. And if you, as you just said, if you just plug in AI to some query or something you're doing and don't dramatically double check it and push back and what have you, you are going to wind up with egg on your face, as Deloitte did last year. Deloitte, one of the biggest consulting firms, sent out a client report that had fake references in it, fake names, and had to then return money to their clients. So just on the commercial side, there's some things we can do to help, but definitely a long way to go to make it repeatable and great.
So just explain to me something, like just to get to know a little bit about your background. That's pretty interesting. You were in the military, you moved to the commercial side or the enterprise
I was
side.
a civilian. No, I was a civilian. I was never enrolled in the. I was a civilian working for the Navy. Yep.
But how did that work structure from moving from that to the private enterprise? What did you see different?
Yeah, I would say in the most loving way, whatever stereotype people have about what government looks like and working inside the government, I would just say most of that's true. Watching that happen is really frustrating. And so, again, working for the U.S. Navy and PricewaterhouseCoopers, just big organizations have a lot of infrastructure, and they feel like if you present them with a problem and or an opportunity, if they get to it in the next 12 months, you're doing good. And so that is just a struggle in my personality, because I'm one of those, oh, there's a problem, we need to fix it tomorrow. And the process of working through the red tape and getting all the approvals, just really a struggle. And so my biggest takeaway is, again, I knew I could not do that for the rest of my career. I don't know how people, it's great. God bless those big companies. They employ tens of thousands of people. Amen. But for me, it's just very challenging. So.
And then you moved from that to a larger corporation, in which you mentioned earlier that the bureaucracy of a larger corporation did not suit you well.
No, not at all. Again, God bless the people to choose that career path. Just hard when you're a frontline person, seeing a problem and seeing a semi-obvious solution, not being able to implement that because it's got to go through the cycles and the chain of command and HR approval and new documents and blah, 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 blah. So just very challenging.
And so, the other thing I found surprising about you is you founded 7 companies. Is that true?
It is.
And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, of those 4 real venture-backed companies, one is a real estate investment company I do personally. And then my wife and I have had 2 retail operations. She owned a couple retail franchises, and I had a retail painting company. So those are the 7. Of those, 6 of the 7, let's see, of the 7, yes, 5 have been successful, 1 not burned in the .com crash, and 1's in flight now with FrontRace. So feel very fortunate in my entrepreneurial journey.
And what about GovSpend? Can you talk a little bit about this one? You scaled to acquisition.
Sure. Yeah, so GovSpend, still operational company today. It literally, I believe it's one of the dominant programs in the government tech gov sales space. And so what GovSpend does, it aggregates all of the purchase orders from government agencies around the country. So imagine whatever city you live in, and Canada as well. But in the US, if you say the city, the county, aggregates all the purchase orders into one database. So imagine a company like Dell, if you were a Dell sales rep and Texas was your territory, and you have a sales call tomorrow at the city of Austin, you could literally go in and see every computer the city of Austin's ever purchased, who they bought it from, and what they paid. Right? So with that kind of almost insider knowledge of the operation, you can then assess how big of an opportunity is this. If I'm selling Windows and they're on iOS, probably a dead. When did the last time they bought computers? Are they at the end of life? Are they expanding? Are they contracting? So we did that at a wide swath across the country, and then fortunate enough to sell that organization to a private equity shop at the end of 2020.
How did you get access to the data? And that's the hardest thing to come by.
Yeah, well, because the government agencies you'd think about it as a massive freedom of information request,
The
massive
public,
FOIA, public records request, right? So imagine a massive, ongoing, every single day public records request to government agencies. So what was popular about 15 years ago was this big data problems. Like AI is everywhere today. About 10 years ago was the big data. Like how do we
everybody was talking about big data.
Right. How do we aggregate, bring together, and normalize data? That's really the key. So think about the government. If you're just saying you want to look up iPad purchases as a thing, if you want to look, hey, how many iPads have been purchased this year? But imagine the government purchase order, that could be described an iPad, an Apple, it could be called a tablet, it could just be called a digital device.
Handheld device of some sort.
Right. So it wasn't just the data, it was then normalizing the data. So an apple was an apple on each item. And so really,
you almost have to have your own dictionary.
Very much so. The process to I can describe it really easily, but the process to both get the data in a mass scale and bring it together and normalize it was an enormous undertaking.
And you probably built it before all the AI data manipulation took place. So you probably did it on SQL or something.
Yeah, AI was not even a thing. Come on. No. You're talking 15 years ago.
Do you know Tom Embergy?
Who?
Tom Embergy. Do you know him? I just spoke to him on a past podcast here. He runs UNA, which is a government software service company. He's based in Orlando.
Yeah, I can't place it, but I have to know. I lived in South Florida. So I lived near Orlando and in South Florida for 20 years. So I'm sure we know each other.
I just had a fascinating conversation with him about, government and, RFP management and software around, not just RFP management, budget management, etc. Yeah. So that's what the company does.
I'm sure Tom knows of and utilizes GovSpend. So.
Yeah, I probably know. He's probably very familiar with it.
Yeah, that platform is super unique, very proprietary to bring that data set. No one has that, to bring the purchase order data together. A lot of people have, just to clarify, a lot of companies offer RFP data because the agencies push that out. I'm not talking about RFP data. Does GovSpend have RFP data? They do. It's publicly available. So the ability to ask for, aggregate, and normalize purchase order data, like intricate. For you as a family, imagine your checkbook. And if you had everybody's checkbook in America, what they spent, who they spent it with, and how much they paid.
Powerful information.
It's really amazing.
Powerful information. Now, let's talk a little bit about FrontRace, if you don't mind, Jack. What problem does it solve?
God, it's such a loaded question. We only have an hour? No. You probably could sense.
I can segment it for you if you want.
Well, my little drive-by would be, I think everyone's
the elevator pitch.
Yeah, if you're on the commercial side, you feel some pressure to put AI into your operations, right? If you're head of a CRO, a head of client services, you feel this pressure, and we have to automate something and get ourselves in the AI game. And I think what happens today, if you studied anything about the last year, a lot of companies spent a lot of money in the U.S. I think they said $650 million last year. 90% of that was never promulgated across the company.
Nothing.
The ROI wasn't there, and so really a lot of money. And the ROI really lacking. So then it's like, why and what's happening? And so let me just quickly, I'll share what we think that problem is, which is for AI to work, it needs two things. It needs data to work off of. So forget the open data. When you use OpenAI or Claude or, if you use ChatGPT, I don't care, right? That's just pulling from open data. But as Larry Ellison said the other day, the magic for your company to be great is your company data, right? What's happening in your company, historical data, what's worked, what hasn't worked, pricing changes, all the data you've had internally, but most companies don't have that, one, aggregated, and two, don't have it normalized. So that's our background. So we approach a company, whatever systems they have, we don't replace any of them. We aggregate the data, normalize it, and make it now the ability to analyze it, right? So most companies don't do that. They just slap AI on top of their broken data, garbage in, garbage out. Bad. So once you have the data, the second piece is understanding the process flow that your people do, whether you're in client services, if you're in sales, if you're in operations. You typically have a manual that you say, if you hire a new sales rep, and you go, here's our sales manual. It's 22 steps to sell our product. And the reality is it's really 79 steps or 54 steps. There's all these things that human beings do in between that are not documented. Answering questions, sending information, building rapport, all this stuff, it's not documented. So then imagine, again, you hire an AI agent, you tell it to do the 22 steps that are in your sales manual. The reality, it's 50 steps. And so you wonder why the agent's failing. And you're like, yeah, the agent's failing because you only told it to do half of the steps that your sales rep's doing. And by the way, not of ill will, but you don't even know that's happening because the human beings are answering questions, responding to stuff on the fly, right? So just a level set, getting the data together, normalizing it, understanding what your process flows are. Those two things have to be done well before you slap AI or any other automation into your company. And we believe that's where companies are failing. So FrontRace helps with both those. We're going to help aggregate your data, normalize it, make sure it's great. We're going to help you understand your processes. Not that you tell us, we're going to tell you from our data connection what the processes really are, because we're going to have all the connection points. And then we help you put AI into the mix. What things are automatable? What things can you start to get more efficient in? And the last piece, so that makes sense. The tools we're using today are going to constantly change. The things we're using today are going to look like AOL and the internet 5 years from now or 2 years from now, right? 2 years from now. So we want to give you a foundational analytical foundation. You can plug any AI tools in over the next 5 years. And so that's our goal, to help companies really use AI at scale to get the right answers.
Now, I did a presentation not too long ago, last Friday. I run something called the AI Exchange Networking event. It takes place on Fridays at 9 o'clock. And this is where I get global leaders from everywhere talk about use cases for AI, where are they seeing in their environment, etc.
Yep.
One of the most common thing that I continuously see is people, you alluded to it earlier, but one of the fundamental things that people are not really diagnosing very well is their internal processes. Because the new technology that it's upon us now and we're using it today or contemplating using it, it's making us think. Because most of the processes that we currently have are designed in an era where we did not have what we have today. So bolting technology on top of an old processes, in a lot of cases, it's like trying to put a nice shiny patch on an old robe, for instance.
Amen, Robin. Amen. Preach. Amen. Preach.
So one of the things, I did like a 21 slides on this presentation last week on this one. Why are we accommodating current processes that a lot of times you look at it and say, do you actually need to do this? Yeah, but that's always how we did it. Well, that's not a good enough answer.
Yeah, but so in our perspective of the world, there's three buckets of AI things that are happening right now. There is the free or $20 ChatGPT Claude thing that you're doing at night. People are right. No, they're just $20. The free version of all the front-facing LLMs, or pick Gronk, whatever one you love. There's that out there. People are exploring with them, personal life, professional life. There's that. There's what you're talking about, I believe, which is there's solutions that companies already bought. And every solution they've already bought, especially this technology, has what? Added an AI module, right? Every single solution has added, here's our AI module.
Of course, that's how they do it. Every software company out there, just to put the AI next to their name, they're just bolting AI to it.
Yep. Here's our AI thing, right? And then the third is net new companies like ourselves that are kind of all net new. How do we get to what you're talking about? Transformative, long-term change. And so those are three buckets. And, the answer to your question from my perspective is because companies have already bought these things in the middle, a CRM, a video conference tool, a email system, a RevOps system, and they don't want to throw that money away. So they're consciously just accepting this little AI module instead of trying to get the full benefit of what it could be. And so it'll be a rude awakening over the next couple of years as folks try to go from what they've had and done, as you said, and developed over the years to what could be, and how amazing, how we will work, just say 5 or 6 years from now. It's going to be amazing.
So in your note to me, you said you help companies move past AI hype into meaningful changes. What does meaningful changes actually look like in the first 90 days?
Oh, it's great. Again, this is going to go against probably all, you said you've done a couple podcasts. This is going to go against what everyone's saying right now. Listen, if you're listening to this, my biggest encouragement to you about AI is don't do AI right now. That would be my encouragement to you. So that's going to go against what everyone's thinking. Listen, I would just say this. If you're a company of any size and you're able to get to January 1st, 2027 with unified, cleaned up data and a full understanding of your workflows, you are well ahead of the game, right? There's this rush to like put an AI thing in. Any AI we're using now in Q2 of 2026, again, is going to look very antiquated 12 months from now. So in my mind, there's no rush to put an AI thing. What people don't want to do, again, forget the data that the LLMs are using. They're using all open data, whatever's out on the internet. It's your data. The magic, if you've been in business for 5+ years, the magic to all of your problems, the answers to all of your questions are in your data. They are. The problem is part of it's in your CRM. You might have 2 CRMs because you changed systems 3 years ago. Some of it's in your email system. Some of it's in your video conference system. Some of it's in your finance system. And you don't know. And if you can fix that problem, get your data unified, cleaned up, and standardized, and then know your process flows, whatever ones you think you're going to target at a micro level. If you can get to January 2027 with a great handle on those 2 things, you will be poised to explode. And maybe you say October 1st. Maybe you don't take the whole year. Maybe you just take the next couple months. But that's going to be way better than you taking your crappy data, slapping an AI agent on top of it, hoping that it drives some efficiency. And all you're going to wind up doing is either screwing up the strategy of your company, firing people you should have never fired, or getting yourself fired because you're going to make some bad decisions based upon bad data.
Now, to explain to the audience what data example of instance of a data that perhaps you're thinking about from an audience perspective. So what is data? So just to give the audience some example, Jack, for instance, I worked with an organization where we had Salesforce. Yep. Salesforce has a CRM for all of our sales team. Over the years, Salesforce has accumulated the instance that we were running, many duplicate contacts, many bad contacts don't exist anymore, bad emails, bad telephone numbers, expired information. People moved on from their position. They're no longer working with certain companies. And if you go look around and you say, there's gazillion records in that instance of Salesforce, I don't know if I can trust 10% of it.
Yep.
So if you were to run an example, if you were to say to yourself, well, I want to build an AI that can handle top of the funnel for me, but I want to base it on this particular CRM that I have, well, that's a risky maneuver. Why? Is because you're probably going to end up running into a lot of bad contact information, a lot of bad data in your database, in your data set, that's going to result in sending information customer facing that's going to end up looking bad for you, and it's not going to do any results for you. That's what Jack is talking about in terms of bolting AI on top of a bad system or bad data, not bad system, but bad data that already exists. Fix your data.
Can I add another paradigm that sometimes we just forget? This is so real. So you don't have to believe me. You can go research it yourself. We started on the commercial side with this CRM technology about 45 years ago. So in the mid-1980s, we started to put CRMs, and then we added pipeline management stuff, and then we did email systems, and now we have Slack and revenue ops systems and all this stuff. So most companies have 6 to 12 systems that they use. All this automation on the commercial side, and I'm just going to tell you the following. We're no better today. Shocking. The following is going to shock people, but it's true. We're no better today at hitting forecast, knowing what our sales reps are going to do, and helping develop our team. We're 45 years into this. Public companies, you can go research it. In fact, if you really research it, we're worse. Shocking. Having Salesforce, Gong, Slack, Pipedrive, whatever, we're worse at forecasting. Worse. How can that be? And I'll just add this. If you think that's not true, it's forecasting and developing your team. Doesn't every team have the following? If you have 10 reps, or whatever pro rata this, you have 10 reps, 2 or 3 of them are killing it. 2 or 3 of them are crushing it. They got it. The other 6 or 7, are average or below average. And every head of sales has no idea how to replicate what the top people are doing. That's been going on since the beginning of time.
The entire business runs on the 80-20 rule, Jack.
but the head of, what's funny, I had a huge team, I had a 100+ person commercial team. When the board or the CEO walks over and says, hey, Robin, Chuck, Mary, and Susan are crushing it. Why is that? Then with all the tech, all the analytics, all the KPIs we have, you know what we do? We make up something. Well, she's just better at closing. Mary has a deeper pipeline. Tom's just better at the demo. We literally guess. We still 45+ years into this.
It's making up stories.
We do. And so that paradigm is what FrontRace was created to fix. We believe the difference between these top people and everyone else are 20 small things. I want to repeat that. The difference between your top people and your average people are 20 small details. It's not the big things. Everyone knows the big things. Everybody knows the pitch, the demo, the pricing, FAQs. Everyone knows that. It's 20 little things that your best people are doing that we've not been able to measure before AI. And so what AI is doing now is shining a light into those 20 things and letting you now have success and be the greater ability to hit forecasts, and develop your team.
Now, I love the idea of centralizing the decision making. I love the idea of centralizing all these, you mentioned earlier, there's many data sets out there in a variety of data warehouses or data repositories. And now the full picture is coming, into one focus, one lens, basically, through what you built at FrontRace. Was that something predetermined? That's what you wanted to do, to get all that information into one lens? Did you design it that way, those 20 little things, or did they come out through the pattern of analysis?
Yeah, a couple of things. So the 20 is different for every company. So we look at a couple hundred. I use 20 as a benchmark, but the 20 is different for every company. But the evolution of FrontRace is out of our last company. So at GovSpend, we had a large team. I mentioned 100+ folks. COVID happens. March 12th, 2020, we all go home. Oh, COVID's bad. Everybody go to your house, right? Now, picture this. We all live this. June 10th, I don't know, what is your team doing? They're now at home. What used to happen organically in the office, you'd see each other. You could listen to somebody close a deal. You could share deals. Enterprise organic learning happened amongst people. You sat with people doing the same job. You would organically get better, water cooler talk, have lunch with each other. All that's gone. And so we spent about 6 months starting to build what now is FrontRace, which is the ability, hey, what are our people really doing? And not any way to micromanage them, just to, if we hired a new rep, what does success look like now post-COVID, working in your house in a very different work environment, right? And so that was the genesis of FrontRace, and now that's exploded, obviously, with AI. So if you take the core of FrontRace of trying to connect the data and figure out what drives success, and then add as you mentioned, the ability to expedite that with AI, that's how we got here with FrontRace.
So what patterns are you seeing in companies that are getting fastest in terms of results? Like what are patterns emerging from the companies you're talking to that is delivering fast results to them after FrontRace?
That's great. That is such a great question. So I would just say we do a myriad of things, but I'll just tell you one people can really relate to. All right. Again, just like we've had 45 years of technology, we're no better at forecasting and no better at developing our team. No. I'll tell you the other one, it's so true. Somehow in the business world, in the sales world, we decided to let the AEs or the account reps control the pipeline. Now, think about what an inherent conflict this is.
Oh, I managed a few of those, Jack. I can give you stories.
The person whose job it is to have a big pipeline and needs to close deals manages the pipeline. I mean, they're not objective, number one. They think they're closing every deal. Two, if they think the deal might be dead, it doesn't
overvalued. That's what killed me.
Always overvalue a deal. Never kill a deal. We never think a deal's dead. We then just push out the close date. We then change the dollar of the deal, right? The value of the deal, the probability it's going to close. Like, it's ridiculous.
And the velocity of the deal. Some deals are still in the funnel since, I don't want to say anything, but a long time.
No, seriously. And we're asking the person whose job is evaluated by, hey, how big is your pipeline, to manage that. It is ridiculous. And so one of the things we do for companies is give them imagine a web page that had every variable about a deal. It's almost hard to describe, but not only did a deal change, why did it change? That's what's lacking in all the CRMs and all the systems you have today. It's not that a deal got delayed or doubled in size or got halved in size. The question is, so we get better next time, is why did that happen? And it's God bless Salesforce and all the CRMs. You know what they tell you? They have no idea. All they can tell you is that, oh yeah, the deal was originally 17 grand and now we just closed it at 12. And you're like, well, why is that? I don't know. And so the magic, the information, it's in there. Why did we change the deal? Did the client change? Did they run out of budget? Did we not talk to the CEO? Did they buy another system? Did the number of people go down? Unless we understand why deals get elongated, get shortened, increase in value, decrease in value, was the cast of characters right? Unless we understand why it's happening, we're just going to repeat whatever.
Same insanity.
It's ridiculous. Right. And I'll just say the following. What's weird in the business sales world is we want, as managers and leaders, we want to have a Salesforce dashboard, a CRM dashboard that has KPIs. I want 7 KPIs. So we want standardized metrics, okay? For, let's say you have a sales team of 10 people. We want standardized metrics for calls, emails, demos, pipeline. But all your reps are different. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, right? And every deal is different. Every deal has, are they big? Are they small? Are they enterprise? SMB, small, and we're asking for standardized metrics on deals that are all custom. How broken is that? I want the same KPIs, but every deal is different and every sales rep's different. And we know it. You've managed teams. You know one sales rep who's very personable, good at building rapport, great at building their pipeline. You know another sales rep that's great at demoing, demos the product great, knows where all this stuff is, great. You know another one that's great at closing. They're great at doing but they're not all good at everything. No. But we expect the same metrics across the door. And to close the story, what AI does, what AI is amazing at, we can now give custom metrics to custom deals and still feel like we're managing the team. And that's going to be the magic of AI, what it's going to deliver. It doesn't have to be the same KPIs across the door. If you have a team of 50, forget about it. I mean, it's ridiculous. So that's the magic that AI is going to bring to the table.
Now, we've got to get into a little bit in terms of how do we manage forward. And you brought it up earlier. You got like the 20% of your team is doing well, but 80% is not doing that well. And as a sales leader, your job is to figure out, how do I bring these along, or how do I even out not everybody's going to be like at the same level, but just keep inching them forward and from a performance perspective.
Right. And how do companies do that today? When you ran a team, if you had your job.
I mean, you probably know that already. There's I'm sure you know that already. There's 2 ways. A, train them. B, replace them.
Well, let's try to keep them. But when we try to train them, what do? When we try to train the 80%.
Oh, we buddy them up with the guy that is doing.
That's what we do. We literally this is so broken, because what happens, we know this if you're a sports fan, you know that Michael Jordan can't train somebody to be Michael Jordan. LeBron can't just be like, you know what, just do a 360 dunk and then sky off the backboard. And you can't. It doesn't work that way. So for years, I'm guilty too. So I'm yelling at myself. Years, we find the top people. We say, can you train everybody else? They don't know how to train people. It's instinctual for them. They're just doing it. Sometimes they're like, I'm not telling you, right? So let's be honest. Sometimes the best people are like, I'm not telling you. But if they're good, wholesome, goodwill people, I've had our best people train the rest of the team. And at the end of that training session, people are like, I don't know, what just happened? The best people a lot of times don't know what they're doing. It's just inherent. It's innate. They're doing it because it's who they are. And so it's our job as a company, as leaders, as managers, to pull that data out of them and share it with the team. Not ask them to do it. They're not even good at training. And a lot of times they don't even know what they're doing. They do not know what they're doing.
With all the advancement that we've currently have, and, I've managed salespeople for all my life. And I just left my big corporate world in November last year. And I'm on my own now doing sales consulting as well. Fractional CRO for a few people, a few companies, I mean. One of the biggest thing is that I always struggled with, we've got all the tools, we've got all the technologies, we've got everything. However, today, in many large corporations out there, and I want to say 80% of them, they are still struggling with logging email traceability back to the CRM, and they're still downloading that little, I hate it so much, the Outlook plugin for Salesforce and any other CRM. So we can now take an email from Outlook or whatever email system you're using and log in it into the CRM system. We have not yet figured out how to centralize all these communication, because this is what AI is going to be looking at.
We have.
That's exactly what I want to get into this conversation with you. Because if we're not centralizing all these behavioral notes, if you will, how did the customer react? Is the revenue trending down? Did they refuse the last order? Did we sent them a couple of quotes? Did they refuse those quotes, or did they accept them? Those are behavioral indicators. They're all going to come into a picture here. How do you deal with all these centralization?
Yeah, it goes back to, again, we make it sound easy, but it's not. It is literally.
The good ones make it sound easy, to be honest.
Well, the first part is whatever systems a company already has, we start to piece that data together, right? And that's just, no one has perfect data, and no one has data on everything. But that first step is amazing, because then imagine, I love the analogy I always use, imagine you have a calendar. So if you're listening to this, you have your calendar for next week, right? If you visualize your calendar, there's times that are booked, right? It's like, here's the times that are booked. You have meetings scheduled. You're going to go to lunch, whatever you have your calendar, right? And then there's space. There's white space where right now there's no obligations, right? That's what a company's data is like. You don't have the full picture. No one has perfect data. But what we'll start to do is we're going to fill your calendar, right? Hey, here's all the things you have. You know when the emails are sent. You know when the call was made. You know when you sent your proposal. You know when it was signed. You know when the lead came in. We'll fill that in. And then what we work with companies is figure out, hey, here's a big chunk of blank space. What is that? Go ask the rep. What happened here between 2 and 4 Monday? Oh, I was on LinkedIn prospecting and connected with 40 people. Typically a great use of time. Okay. So we go back to the client and say, hey, this 2 hours every day is spent on LinkedIn. Do you want to track that?
I would.
The answer is right. Now, we let them decide. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if they do, then we go get a plug-in for LinkedIn and go, hey, let's track that data on it. Maybe it's not LinkedIn. Maybe it's text. You know, some people are heavy texters. Hey, do you automate your text? Let's track the text. Some of it is in maybe video conference meetings. Some of it could be in some automation system they're using. Like, we go back to the company and go back to the reps and go, hey, this effort is not being tracked. Do you care? And if they care, let's find a tool to track it. And if they don't, fine. We'll just say that's a blank space. Right? We won't know. So fine. Yeah. But we don't care. But what we're trying to do is give the fullest picture we can to go, hey, your best rep, here's what it looks like in a week or a month or a quarter. Here's what it looks like at a micro. By the way, let's be really clear. At a micro level, not that we want your people to look at that, but then we want to summarize that and give them the right signals to be successful, right? We're not asking them to repeat what Bob or Mary's doing to crush it, but we'll understand what they're doing and then serve it back up to them as signals and learnings and trainable things that they can repeat.
You published a white paper titled The 15 AI Truths Every Sales Leader Will Face in 2026, based on real implementation work, I'm assuming you did across hundreds of other companies that you worked with.
Totally.
Walk me through a few truths that surprised even you. The one you said, oh, you know what? I have led big teams. I did not see it coming, that kind of thing.
Well, the biggest ones we've already talked about. So that white paper is online if folks want to get it. But it is this, I believe it's very counterintuitive today. Like, folks are trying to rush out when they hear, what's your best advice about AI? The people are rushing into, get the solution and get this up. We really try to slow people down and talk about getting their house in order. And so that's what we talk about. We already talked about data and process. And we talk about how in the commercial side, the AI tools, again, I love AI. We're an AI company. It's not ready for prime time. Like, people just feel like this thing of like, oh, plug it in, it's going to work. Mark Cuban said last week, it's so true. Whatever AI tool you're using today, if one of these $20 free ones, if you take the same question, the same data, and run it in your AI tool, your LLM, 3 times, you'll get at least 2 different answers. And if you push back at all and go, I don't think that's true, or I don't like that answer, it will completely change its answer. So if you don't think that's true, go try it. And so
I do try it.
yeah, it's unbelievable. And people are putting their jobs on the line. They're making strategic decisions about the way they don't understand how the LLMs work and how they join data together. And people are making some really bad decisions. And so again, we just encourage folks to get your data in order, get your process understood, and then start to understand how the models work, because we're way in the weeds here. But one of the things FrontRace offers, we've all heard this, that the LLMs hallucinate or drift. We've all heard that, right? If you leave it alone long enough, it'll drift off course, right? Or hallucinate things. Well, one of the ways you stop that is you have to give it flags. You have to give it concrete data points along the way so it stays on task. And if you don't do that, you will wind up in a weird place. And so it's one of the things FrontRace does for companies, is put in the flags. And so those are just some of the things that companies aren't thinking about. They just think, I'm going to plug this AI tool in. I'll come to Claude Cowork. I'm just going to put in my data and off we go. And it's like, please don't. Because I don't say that. Don't come work with us. You can do whatever you want. You're going to get fired, or your company is going to really struggle, because the LLMs are piecing together data. Let me be really clear what I'm about to say. For basic queries, they're amazing. If you ask it, who's my top rep last quarter? Got it. What was the most number of calls? Got it. But if you ask it a 3-variable query, who is my top sales rep last month who had the most demos and the most number of calls? I guarantee you, with a 3-variable query, it'll give you a different answer every time. Because the way it joins, it's not right. And so just encourage folks, there's a lot of things happening out there. It's go slower and get your house in order. Then again, the AI tools will continue to evolve. And do you have a foundation when you plug an AI tool in? Can you evaluate, is it really working for you? Is it accretive? Is it helping you? If not, if you're just throwing it off the cliff hoping it works, that's what companies did $650 million of last year, and almost none of it paid dividends.
Jack, if one of my sales leaders right now listening to this conversation tonight, what is the one thing you should act on tomorrow? They should act on tomorrow?
Wow, besides call FrontRace? No.
Well, yeah, call FrontRace, that would be one. But do you think they should take a look at their data and figure it out, or?
Yeah. To me, it's so counterintuitive. It's back to the data piece of like, what data elements do you have? What's available? And can you aggregate it in some way? Do you have the skill set and the system to do that? That by far, we know this. It's garbage in and garbage out.
Garbage out, yeah.
So, and by the way, I know that's going to bother people, because every person we talk to day one says, I got it. Our data's good, and I know what our sales reps do. And you're like, do you? Hey, I think you don't. I think you don't. So here's what we'll do. We'll do this for any company. We'll do a 30-day trial for you. We'll analyze your data, and we'll give you a report exactly what your sales reps are doing to win deals, the steps they're going through. And I'm going to give you a report of the things that look like when you lose deals. And I guarantee you it's going to shock you. It shocks everybody. They're like, we don't do that. I go, want to bet? Not only do you do it, I'm going to tell you the person that did it, when they did it, how many times they did it. Because when we tell them, it's all data. It's not my opinion. It's not like they went through training at Miller Hyman or Challenger Sale or Sandler. Like, they're like, this is our process. Look, BS to your process. This is the facts. This is what your teams are doing, especially if you have a remote team working from home. You have no idea what they're doing at home. You know what they do? Right. They watch ESPN for an hour, do a call. Then they watch the next show on Fox Network.
Walk the dog, go golfing.
Right. It's not like, by the way, because what we're really talking about, it's not only what's done, it's when it's done, right? It's not just, hey, we do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, how about what's the order? And then what's the gap between them? Because we've all experienced this. If you've been on LinkedIn and somebody says, I send you a connection, you accept the connection, and 30 seconds later you get a pitch, you're kind of irritated, right? Everyone gets irritated. So it's not just what you do, it's the order you do it. It's the gap between when you do it. That's what makes your best people great. You could train anybody all day, be like, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and just do it. And everyone will do it in a different order. They'll do it at a different time. Say somebody will do it in one day. Somebody will spread it over a week. The magic is in knowing what works, what order, time frame, all the minutia detail.
Did you do any ROI calculation on this? What is the what do you figure the ROI on this one?
10x. 10x. And people are like, well, that's very flippant. That's very Grant Cardone of you. But literally, we price it that way. So that's we put our money where our mouth is. You don't take my word for it. We price it per month by the impact we're going to have on your business. We price it at 1/10 of the impact we have on your business.
And I'm assuming this has been validated, and you've seen the results.
Well, the best part is we live the good and bad of it.
Yeah, so because it's on the other side too. On the customer side, has to validate it.
Right. So if we're not impacting your business, we don't get paid. So we're greatly aligned. So when we created FrontRace, we wanted to do a couple of things. I want to do two things as somebody who's had some entrepreneurial success. I wanted to let people use the software before they paid us, because everyone showed up at my door. I had a big commercial team. They're like, buy this. Give me 20 grand and we'll prove it works. Give me 30 grand and we'll prove it works. I was like, prove it works and I'll give you the money. I don't want to do that. So we show up and say, let me prove to you it works. I believe in it so much. I'll prove to you it works, whether that takes 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. So before you ever pay us, I'm going to prove to you it works, one. And then two, I want the price point to be such a no-brainer. You're going to be like, of course, I'm getting 100 grand a month out of this. I'll pay 10 grand. Or I'm getting 30 grand. I'll pay 3 grand. It's the proportions will be so 10x. It's a total no-brainer. So those are the two paradigms we built the company on.
Now, we've talked a little bit about, a lot of how sales managers have been measuring things in the past. And so
wrong.
Of course. I mean, they're using old data, right? So, I mean, the same, how many meetings, how many demos you've done, et cetera. There's many KPIs that they put in place.
But those are all, I don't want somebody to feel like I'm some dum-dum. Those are all things. Do people have to outreach and do emails? Yes, but there's no, I just want to repeat this, no direct correlation, none, between calls, emails, pipeline, and the success of your company. If there was, every company would hit gold.
Everybody's running on this, because it seems to me, Jack, that everybody's running on the same theory. Activity leads to deals, deals leads to revenue. And that formula, like the larger the number of activities, the larger number of emails, calls, demos, it's going to lead to a revenue. Not necessarily, because I've dealt with many sales team members on my side. I call them snipers of deals. These guys, they work on 2-3 deals. They know they lock them in, and they come in head and shoulder above everybody else from a performance perspective. They don't need 20 deals in their sales funnel.
Right. Are those variables to success? They are. But what we're talking about, who cares if your team made 1,000 phone calls? It's the most ever in company history, and you missed goal that quarter. And you got fired. Like it doesn't matter. Like, we're trying to identify what are the big things that determine if you win or lose a deal. That's what everyone cares about. They don't, are emails and calls and size of your pipeline relevant? They are relevant, but there is not a direct correlation between those and the success of your company. Because again, if there were, every public company would hit gold. They have, you know how much cash on hand those companies have to invest in any system they want, and they still can't figure it out? It's the small details we've not been able to measure for years that AI now is going to open the door and be like, oh, you know what? It's not just Robin does A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He actually puts G ahead of B. Oh, and then after he does G, he actually waits a week before he does C. That's the magic. It's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's not. If it was, everyone would hit goal.
Of course. But now that we've learned that, I'm just trying to walk through the process here with the audience.
Yep.
Now that we've had this learning, that new evidence, if you will, through the FrontRace discovery, or whatever you want to call it, data analysis, what do we do with this? Can we create training programs? Can we feed it to somebody in a way that they can consumable, they can be alerted to? I have no idea. How does that work?
Yeah, so the deliverable on our end is really a web page, right? And so it's different for a manager than it is a frontline rep. So as a manager, what we serve up to people is, here are the 10 most important things you can do today. Not your opinion, statistically over the course of your company for the success and failures, here is the 7, 8, 12 things you should do today in order of most important to least important. That's as easy as it comes. And then we do the same thing for each rep. We can say to your rep, today, you need to send the document you promised Bob 3 days ago you'd send him. You need to send him the proposal, right? We do the same thing for the reps. Based upon your pipeline, your deal flow, and what you're working on, here are the 7 things for you to do today. Here's the top 10 things, or what order and what priority. That's the deliverable of like, not just an innuendo, analytically.
You're basically nudging them, basically, I'm seeing.
An exact list, and not a nudge, an exact list. Statistic. The analogy, if you're a sports fan, is that movie Moneyball years ago that the Oakland.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That's really what it is. Here's how to operate today. Again, not an opinion, because what happens in sales, Robin, you and I, if we both had Salesforce and looked at the same dashboard, based on our history, our careers, we may feel different about what the best next step is for the company, right? We can look at the same data and just feel different about it. You know what I'm talking about? Like we would feel different. We use the data. I don't care what the CEO's opinion is. I don't care what the CRO opinion is. I don't care what the sales rep opinion is. We're going to tell them based upon the history of the company and the data, here's the best next step for you. Do it or not, I don't care. I'm just telling you, here's what the data says.
This is really exciting. You know why? Because I've been in this game for 40 years or something. And yeah. I can remember every quarter, one CEO will go in front of the board and explain why they didn't meet quota for this quarter. And you look around and you're thinking, you should have met the quota. There was no reason why not to meet the quota.
Right. All the numbers are good. The dashboard all looks good. How did we miss?
Yeah. How did we miss that? You've got delivery. You've got lots of salespeople on the floor managing the customer relationship. And of course, you've got managers who are managing these individuals. And if there's somebody bad apples, you already got rid of them. So to say I'm not meeting my quota, I just in my head, with all the data that's available then and now, it should be no brainer, in my opinion.
It is shocking that, just like you said, a CEO would go to the board. Think about this scenario. All the metrics in whatever CRM have all look good. So in a quarter, we hit every metric we set up, every KPI, and we missed by 20%. What? Of course, then that's not right. Of course, then the KPIs are not right? I mean, we've been doing this, again, for 40 plus years, and we keep repeating it. It's shocking.
Is there a version of this conversation where people would tell you, hey, I just trust AI? What do you say?
Trust AI?
Yeah.
I just trust AI, of course. Of course. This thing of what are we going to be, robot and AI run over? Some of that. Are we going to lose jobs and people are going to have to get retrained? Yes. Just like when the computer showed up, the internet showed up. Are things going to change? They are. But there has to be, a human in the loop is kind of the term you hear in the tech world.
Most people are losing, laying off people preemptively before they even achieve anything.
Listen, that's one of my little soapboxes in the white paper of we've never seen this. You and I are old enough. In the history of public markets, when a management team has a big layoff, a management team has a rift, a public company does a rift, right? We're going to fire 10% of our team. In the history of business, what happens? Their market cap goes down, and normally part of the management team gets fired because the analysts say, you don't know what you're doing. You just fired 10% of your team. You obviously don't know how to manage the business. You overhired. Somebody needs to be fired, and your market cap goes down. And what's happened the last 6 months? The exact opposite. When you announce a 10% firing, your market cap goes up. The valuation of your company's gone up 8 to 9%.
Is that the EBITDA relationship?
Why it's going up?
No, I think it's related to the EBITDA, right? So as soon as they fix the EBITDA, yeah.
I don't think they care. I think the market it's like a run on a bank. The market just wants to hear you're investing in AI. It's like the .com era. Is anyone looking at the EBITDA number? Are they? I don't think the company was worth X and 8% more because you fired 10% of the people. Maybe for a little while because your HR expense, but that's for these big companies. That's not enough to move the bottom line. They're increasing the value because they go, oh great, you guys finally got it that we need AI. Whether they do anything else, so that's a real that is a real issue that's going to affect a lot of people because CEOs repeat what they see happening. If your whole value as a CEO is to increase the market share of your market cap of your company, well, I'll announce a layoff and say it's because of AI.
Yeah.
That's
No, I mean,
a real thing.
I'm not sure how much you know about the Canadian market, but I mean, 2 weeks ago, we had an announcement here by Rogers. That's one of our main telecommunications
I know Rogers.
companies.
Yeah.
They just laid off 12,500 people, which is amount to 50% of their workforce.
Yeah.
And, the question is, my neighbor works for them in the data centers. And so he got laid off. So the question is, who's running the show now? When you take 50% of your workforce out, as a customer, I'm asking, like, are you going to provide the service? That's service impacting. That's not like 1 or 2 or 10% or 5%. When people make, IBM did the same thing when Codex went up, the new release of coding. So, we don't need all these coders or these programmers. Things, and they restarted the hiring again. Like, people are making mistakes. I just can't believe it.
It's to go back to your question, is the AI untrustworthy? Yes. The leaders of the AI movement, Sam Altman et al., will tell you, I don't know what it looks like 5 years from now. So yes. So it's again, to me, that just makes the point we try to sell people. You're rushing into something that no one really knows what we should be. And so looking back, we all do this today. If you have a friend and you say, hey, what's your email address? And they go, jacksiney@aol.com. What do you do to them? You go, what? You have an AOL account? What? Are you insane? Right? And so that's what's going to happen today. What looks like amazing in the AI world today looks amazing. You're like, how could it do this? How could Claude Cowork be so great? It's going to look so antiquated 12 months from now. And so it's to go slow, get your data ready, get your company ready, right? And that's my biggest encouragement for people.
And that whole self-learning, that's what you're talking about, that the technology today, it's self-learning. It's learning from all of us. We're becoming the living lab of the entire platforms of various AIs. The more we engage with it, the more it's learning from us. It doesn't matter right or wrong.
Amen.
But it's synthesizing all that information into its brains. Now, I want to, we're just running up to the hour here. I'm enjoying this conversation. I can talk about this for another hour. To be honest with you, it's my favorite topic. Did we cover everything?
First hour is free, Rob, and second hour is a fee. No.
Oh, yeah? I was going to say the same thing, but here you go. You beat me to it. Typical sales guy. I love you. This is good.
I'm kidding.
Excellent. Did we cover everything you wanted to cover, Jack?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Again, folks need help. We're just one of a resource, right? And so my push is to have folks just think differently and not get sucked up into what you see on LinkedIn and what you see on X, the platform. So much of that is fake. Are there one-off solutions of people micromanaging AI on the commercial side and having success? There is. But a vast majority of companies are struggling to get a real ROI. It's because some of their foundational things are not in order. And so that's what FrontRace is designed to help folks. And if you need help in that area, reach out. We'll earn our keep. You don't have to believe me. We'll do the whole front end part.
Let me prove it to you. That's what you're saying. Yeah, let me prove it to you. Yeah, absolutely. For the audience, if you want to connect with Jack, let me know. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. We connected, Jack and I. If you need an introduction, happy to facilitate an introduction. I will include Jack's information in the post edit of this podcast when I publish it. You'll be tagged in everything. People who are following this channel, they'll find you pretty quickly. Great. And I want to thank you so much for all this today. I really appreciate it. Very engaging, very passionate conversation. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
I really appreciate it. And for the audience, thank you so much for watching us if you're coming on YouTube. And thanks for listening in on our audio channels. And also, if you are reading our blog where I summarize the conversation that we just had today with Jack on robinayoub.blog, thanks again for subscribing to the blog. And if you are interested in the AI Exchange networking event that takes place every Friday at 9 a.m. in the morning Eastern, please let me know or head over to my LinkedIn profile, Robin Ayoub, and I'll be happy to extend an invitation to you to attend for free the networking event where you meet lots of colleagues in the AI world, in the AI space from around the world. How are they thinking about AI now? What are the use cases? And what are they trying to do in their own practice? And what can we learn from each other? It's a learning experience for all of us. This technology's got a long ways to go, as evident by the conversation I just had with Jack. And we all can learn a few things from one each other. And hopefully, this conversation that we just had today has taught somebody something valuable. And hopefully you'll come back and visit us again on the channel. Thanks again to everybody. Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it. And I'll see everybody at the next episode. Thanks, everybody.